you know, it was furthered by these things, these little plastic things that you get at the grocery store, which, you know, when you check out, they swipe it, and it tells you everything they want to know about you, who you are, where you live, what you buy, and they target promotions to you. You know, they give you, on your way out, they give you coupons for stuff that you regularly buy, because they know who you are. This is refined much more dramatically online, where through cookies and other devices, you track each user. And a person sits down at a computer, based on where they have been, what they have bought online, what they've looked at online, they see certain ads. That is where advertising is going. And the reason why traditional mass media have trouble adapting to that, you know, it should be a great blessing to move online, for newspapers in particular, especially if people would just stop wanting the paper version. Because that is 40% or more of your cost is producing that thing and delivering it to people. If you could just not have to produce the paper version and just hit a button and have it go online and you're done, it would play to all the strengths of newspapers. You know, they've always had the most, still do, as much as they've cut back, the greatest resources for gathering news and presenting it and explaining it to people. And that was just great. I remember back in the early 80s when I saw that we were going to go that way. I said, this is wonderful. I can't wait. I can't wait to just hit a button and have it go to people instead of taking hours for it to be produced, printed, put on a truck, carried somewhere, taken to somebody's house. Because people thought that TV was more on top of things than newspapers. It wasn't. TV tended to follow newspaper people around. They just were able to give it to people first because of that delivery medium. Online meant you could just go right past it and show your strength. Unfortunately, as it has worked out, you cannot charge as much for advertising online as you can in a newspaper. And so you can't bring in enough money to support your reporters, and editors, and photographers, and everybody else that's put out a newspaper. And that is the problem that newspapers are having today, and TV is having, and radio, and any traditional news medium is having right now, is the collapse of the business model. Yes?
Hi, Tanisha. When you were an editor at the paper, did you have other editors to check your grammar and spelling to keep you from making a mistake?
Yes, you always do. You always have somebody back you up. Even when, you know, you're a very senior editor like I was. I generally had Cindy Scoppy, who worked for me, always check my stuff because we had worked together for over 20 years, and she just completely understood. She could not only catch errors, but she understood my voice and everything, and would change it to what I want, you know, and so that was helpful. But everybody needs an editor. Everybody always needs an editor. You know, I don't have one, so you know, I make mistakes all the time, and sometimes never do catch them. Sometimes people will point them out, but unfortunately the expectation on a blog is lower because everybody does. They just stream of consciousness, thought, bang, 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 go on to the next thing. You know, there is no circling back and, you know, checking and any of that stuff, because otherwise you just can't do it. If you're going to try to apply the traditional model to it, you can't do it. You don't have anybody to help you. You don't have any. You can only edit yourself to a certain point. I found the only way I could effectively edit myself, and it was pretty effective, was if I ever had time to write something ahead of time. It was a great advantage to me because I'd come in the next day and, well, what I always do is I completely rewrite it. But the fact is, I would improve it by coming back to it. It's hard to improve it right at that moment, you know, to make it as good as it can be. You need, if it's just a few minutes or a different set of eyes, you need a fresh look at it to make it as good as it can be. And yeah, everybody needs that. Sometimes you don't have one.
And then Jane, how sufficient a factor are your feelings about a topic when you write a story? If you're really angry or really happy about a topic, do those emotions impair your objectivity?
I certainly hope not, but you know, it's where do you draw the line? I've as an editorial, as a person who's about opinion, about public policy and everything, I've got a deep prejudice against emotion. I mean, you may have heard me say kind of disparaging things about people who react and vote emotionally. I don't like that. I like people to look at things very analytically and make rational decisions. And I'm all about rational policies. And at the same time, I'm very passionate about that. It's an emotional thing for me. I'm emotional about being rational. I get very indignant and angry at emotional foolishness. And we are drowning it. And so, I mean, where do you draw the line between reason and emotion there? I get pretty hot in the collar about it. And that, I don't know, but you know, where does inspiration come from? When I come in fired up about something and rip off something in a few minutes, it tends to be my very best writing, as opposed to the stuff that, you know, I really need to tackle this subject, I really need to pull together all the elements that I need and construct this argument. And that kind of stuff, that's fine. But the stuff that everybody talks to me about is the stuff that took me like 10, 15 minutes to write, because I just came in the morning, this is insane, and wrote about it. And that's the stuff that years later someone will say, I remember when you wrote so-and-so. Yeah, okay. You know, it took no effort, it just came out. And you know, one of the reasons I moved in the early 90s to editorial writing from news and objective journalism, because I don't believe in objective journalism. I mean, it's yeah, there's fairness, there's making sure you say something that, you know, can be very well supported, and all that kind of thing, and taking into consideration what someone else thinks of it. There's all that. But the truth is not objective. If you only write what everyone can agree, yes, that's that person's name, that's how you spell it, and yes, that's the date, and yes, you know, the who, what, where, when, how, and why, they can't be argued about. If that's all you write, you're not going to tell anybody anything that they need to know. You know, if you write about political controversy, you're going to write gobbledygook if you are completely objective and balanced. If, you know, balance, that suggests that there are only two sides of everything, which is the biggest lie in American politics, that there's a left and a right, a liberal and a conservative, and they are clearly defined, and they are understandable, and they make sense all the time. No, there are thousands upon millions upon billions of ways to look at everything. And you have to recognize that if you're going to tell the truth. And what I finally decided was that objective journalism did not tell the truth. Because here's how it works. You got a controversial issue, okay? Say the controversy today is what color is the sky, all right? You go out to party A or interest group A, and there's somebody there who's paid to put out statements, because that's the way we organize things. And they give you a statement.